action So yeah.
I mean,
that was such a story episode.
Right off the bat.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Amazing.
Hell yeah.
That was such a strange thing you did.
No, it was so Alec. It's so beautifully Alec.
You've never done that to anyone before.
Because none of you have deserved it.
It was very close. It was very close to the Royal Shakespeare Company warrior handshake where you grasp each other's forearms.
Yeah.
Hands are too effeminate. I never quite figured out what the point of that is. But yeah, this I was so nervous about this episode because...
Oh, no confidence in me then. Thanks.
No. You know what it is? When you're playing a home game, I find episodes like this the easiest and the most fun because if it lulls and if it sags a little bit, it doesn't matter because no one's listening to it. And yet when you've got an episode which is entirely reliant on you going and talking to NPCs and having important conversations and a couple of absolutely vital plot points being revealed, as a DM, it's massively in the player's hands, which I was entirely wrong to worry because it'd be interesting. Everyone loves different types of episodes. Some people love combat and some people love dungeon crawly exploration. Some people love, us breaking Medea out of a jail cell. For me, this was just such a fun episode. Do you sort of all feel quite rudderless in those moments, or are you kind of bedded into your characters enough now that you sort of know what they do?
Yeah, not anymore.
That's good.
I think.
Well, you don't know what you do anymore.
I don't know what I'm doing. No, I think I feel. I mean, I'm finding that I'm often sitting back a little bit, observing until I feel like I can contribute something constructive, or not constructive but fun. But I don't feel rudderless. Like when we first started playing, and with the awareness that people are watching, I felt kind of like, I have to do something. I have to do something.
Yeah.
But now I feel like I don't feel that same kind of pressure anymore.
That's good.
There was an entire conversation between the four of you, and in that moment I was like, I've got nothing to contribute in this moment, and I was happy to sit back. Whereas, as you say, before I might have gone like, okay, well, what's my contribution to this?
Yeah. It's really interesting that you sit that in those early, especially because as a DM with new players, what you do is you tend to sort of invite people in because you want people to know that when they have something to say, they can say things. So it tends to be, sometimes you get into this almost quite formulaic thing where it's like in every interaction, we have a moment from each of the characters and we're asking, and it's lovely when you get to a point where you're like, oh, I can just let this...
Yeah.
I just ride the wave, and whether that means me particularly being active in it or just allowing the story to happen.
Or just supporting other characters, because it was, this is Indelian's episode,
Yeah.
so it's like kind of like...
Yeah, it feels like a lot of them have been. And if you don't like Indelian, that's been real tough to swallow. But yeah, this was good. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
But like, I again, like you, I've got a pretty damn clear idea of the character. Like,
Yes.
I really feel like I'm starting to understand what they would do, but it's being comfortable in vocalizing it is always the challenge.
Totally.
And I definitely find I still have to do, it's like eyes closed, like what would they do? Now say it. And you do have to push yourself still to say it.
What I think's really lovely as well is Indelian doesn't give much of herself, and so it therefore you learn it. So what I want, a little bit, the only thing I can kind of compare it to is I wanted you to learn about the virtuous through their Antiqua because I knew you're not going to have that, long with them. That's not the case with the brothers, but from when you start the trials, we're learning about the brothers. So then by the time you meet the brothers, hopefully you have a sense of who they are. And then actually every single NPC that you've met in this episode is actually only there to help you better understand Indelian. And when you think about the place that we finished episode 11, which I think is the most angry Indelian's ever been. Yeah. I will not save you, I will not help you. And in fact, we listened to the last few minutes of it before we started to just, because I think I can't remember how long it's been since we played.
Couple of weeks.
This has actually been. This is another one where
even,
quite a long break. It was about 4 weeks.
Yeah. Where we kind of needed to be like, remember where you were at, because it was such a tense and hostile.
To put it into perspective, if this is a Saturday, episode 11 comes out on Tuesday.
Yes.
That's how.
Yeah,
that's
we're really to the wire.
Yeah.
But and then to go from where we started this episode to where we finished it, and we'll talk more about the very ending, I'm sure in a bit. But is an amazing. It's exactly. There's no right or wrong way of playing D&D, but it's exactly how you have to. I think, or it's the cleanest way of handling character development at the table is let your character be influenced by the people around you. Let your character want to change. And like in the same way that you need to build a character, people always say be Frodo Baggins at the beginning of Lord of the Rings, not Bilbo Baggins at the beginning of The Hobbit. Because Bilbo doesn't want to go on an adventure, he just wants to eat seed cake. And so that's not fun to play. And also what isn't fun to play is a battering ram who pays no attention to the people around them. And what then happens is you have this great big place for tension and mistrust and unhappiness with one another, and then you all kind of the level of sort of generosity that all your characters had to each other, that by the end of the episode you're in a stable being like, okay, it's the 5 of us now, is for me like just the most exciting thing about it, actually, to see you guys no longer flies.
I think from you as a DM, what I liked was so much of learning about Indelian came from her not being there. Like the conversation that Radian and Dolly and I were having with Eden on top of the tower did more to probably help the relationship between Radian and Indelian, and they weren't even talking.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, how do I understand this person? Because the whole point is that we don't understand each other.
Yeah.
Even though we do understand each other because we're very, very similar. And actually, it's watching your storyline unfold with your family, like Radian saying things like coming back home and being punished for coming back home, all of these things. And it's like, it's really interesting because your storyline, the relationship that you have with your family is so different from what Radian has with his, which we will explore as we go further along in this.
No, you're actually the only one who I don't want to explore.
No need. Can't even remember.
No games, no backstory.
Yeah. I've got a blank memory. Right, I can't be bothered to write a backstory which shan't be investigated.
It's not true to say that this isn't necessary. Like all of the stuff that we are learning about your family, yes, you are the one leading in it, is your story, but it's always going to enrich our storylines in the way that we react to it.
Yeah.
It's always going to reinforce and maybe allow us to kind of imagine other ways that we can react off. It's going to enrich everything that we do from here on out.
Yeah.
And even though we're not taking center stage, it is always, this isn't Delian's, this is your arc. It's all part of our much broader arc. It's a mini arc in our own things.
Yeah.
We're resolving things like Radian has learnt a lot through your arc because you have taught him how to do these things that are going to enable the storyline, and hopefully we will continue to do that as cast members are kind of going
100%.
What I found really cool at the end there was that moment in the stables. Really felt like we've had our trauma bonding moment right at the beginning.
Yes.
Then we've had our moment of fun, like in the festival. And then we've had our moment where it's sort of like our first proper moment where it's like us like against the idea of someone else, when we go into Barun and we're like, we have to kind of fend for ourselves here and watch each other's backs because we're about to go and tell them some stuff and we could be, and then we've had our first big proper argument. And now we've also, along the way, been given our adventuring party kind of name, like the idea of the newly dead.
Yeah.
But this feels like the first moment where we've gone, and now we're an adventuring party.
Yeah.
It feels like this is with the intro actually comes up. And like, do you know what I mean? It's like...
I totally agree with you.
Like that's how it feels. Like now the story starts.
I love an extended pre-title sequence.
Yeah, that's how it feels.
And this is like a 33-hour pre-title sequence. But I to be a bit, if I may offer a very wanky analogy, this is the point at which, like, the Gloam are wearing masks. The masks are a metaphor, but like, you've also been wearing them. you've been put together, but you don't really know anything about each other because you've been consistently wearing these masks. And then there are these little bits of story, these little bits of backstory. We know that I's tribe disappeared. We know that the web killed Kelnis's family. We know that Radiant can't remember anything. We get this sense that Dolly has a past that she's, that is a bit murky, and that she maybe been let down or by somebody. In Delian, we had this sense that she was having to run towards something she was trying to run away from. And then in the stable, I can't even remember what everyone said, but it was essentially everyone sort of had a single line where they sort of took their mask off and went, well, this is fully me, and this is fully me, and this is fully me, and you all kind of saw each other properly for the first time.
My line was with a big stick.
But your line was I've been hunting the web. Now it's
I don't know who cares if they hunt me.
Yeah, who cares if they hunt me? And it's like, because also there is. So I can reveal a big thing. My original plan was to have you go to Lode and try and do this in Lode. And then I thought, God, that's deeply uninteresting. None of the characters are particularly connected to Lode.
Then we've got literally no connection to a dwarven city.
So I was like, but Mouse has this great big castle in it. And, if you'd gone to Lode and they'd said, deliver the supplies to the Gloam, much more likely to do it. Because it's still the morally wrong thing to do, but it doesn't hurt anyone you love. Whereas as soon as I was like, oh, fuck, they could go to Mouse. Imagine if they went to Mouse instead. And there is a chance. I mean, we can talk a little bit about Dolly now, because you can now go and look at the cast spoilers on the Discord.
Oh my God, I'm so
What did
glad I
they
can
say to you?
wander back into Discord.
We've been really good, by the way.
Yeah, you have.
Really good.
Nothing.
So shall I read the very first message that you got from the second message from Spinner was the one that ended episode 10, which was deliver the supplies to the Gloam. Our objectives now align with theirs. The house of Grenweird must fall. Leave none alive. The web is wide. And then
Been sitting on that for a while.
Also, leave none alive. Like that, Grenweird is in Delian as well. Like leave none alive.
leave none alive.
So wait, so the thing was to deliver you had to deliver the supplies to the Gloam. So when I went to hold the supplies,
Didn't want to do that. Didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And then and then this most recent message said,
The Gloam still await the supplies. You have till morning. Do not make yourself an enemy, little fly. The web is wide.
No.
So, yeah, that's
Let's fucking go.
let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
And that
I still haven't replied to that, and I still can.
Left them on red.
left
Yeah,
them on
yeah, yeah.
red.
You
left a
literally-
spinner on red. It's the boldest of moves. Dolly de
so
Winter
good.
is tight. She stopped.
Oh no, she's typing again.
Because when someone casts, that was messages.
You can reply,
You can reply, so you haven't replied yet.
It's sending.
Sending.
So it's essentially they're sending stones which allow you to use the sending.
Oh yes, and I've had one of those on me for a while, but you probably know that.
Yeah, it's what Dolly was given in the
Got a little telephone.
Yep. No.
once a day.
Why are
Send a
you on
little.
telephone?
Send
We'll get you something.
And I still have it, so like, you know.
I'm
Hello?
really glad we didn't get into combat, because I thought for a minute when when the alarm was shouted from the ramparts,
Yeah.
I thought, oh crap,
Rested.
we're all on our last legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm pretty
And-
exhausted.
Yeah, and it's essentially that whole thing is because we now know that the web are in league with the Gloam. That whole thing was for Dolly's benefit, essentially. That whole thing is to try and force her hand and make her do the things she's been instructed to do.
I would seem pretty confident you were going to do it as well.
Yeah.
Well, no, they obviously do, because their little comment as well was like, you'll have those daggers in your backs.
We
Yeah.
burnt down the fucking houses and got, Gronoth killed. Like,
Yeah.
we've done really bad stuff.
Yeah.
She's done worse.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
done a lot worse.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of like,
Who Dolly has.
yeah.
You,
She's,
what, sorry.
you still don't know what or why, but
I'm interested for us to explore. There's something that in episode 0, which is when we meet for the first time. That's when we meet.
Yeah.
But that's assuming that like we've all been in the web longer. We've had different groups of people that we've interacted with. We've done awful things, and it always really sticks with me because it's like when we're going towards the thing, and Radian finds Ashraf, a person that he knows very well from one of the previous like groups they're a part of, and I'd be interested to kind of like see how we explore those previous things that we've done for the web, because this isn't our first rodeo. Like we've done awful things in different ways with different people. Why is it this particular group of people that we are so attached to that we are willing to just throw up everything?
Yeah.
yeah. And especially since, like, I mean, like you said, the web promised you something. They promised me something too. So it's kind of like, now that we're giving that up, it's like, what does that mean
Yeah.
for us going forward?
I think I even asked Morgan this when we sat around the campfire. Is like, why us 5? Like, why this random 5 group of people
Yeah.
going up Mount Damn Atria? Like,
Yeah.
like that just seemed completely. You can't tell me that in all of the web we were the best 5 to send up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Obviously.
if you are, then I guess it lets you know that the web is wide, but it's not,
Infallible.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Or unless
Yeah.
we're special in some way.
But also, I mean, mechanically, I guess you kind of are. You're the web. This would be no secret. The web has a lot of people who would, web has some people who would just be like lookouts on street corners, or they would be people who were capable of forging letters, or they would be people who were really good at keeping track of where money was going. The web would have accountants. The web would have all kinds of people.
Karen in finance.
Karen in finance,
DJ.
the slug from Monsters
Yeah,
Inc. And so to have 5 of you with very specific sets of skills,
I mean, we beat a basilisk.
you beat a basilisk.
We beat a basilisk.
Well,
despite
not all
Radiant's
of
best
us.
efforts.
Whoa!
to stare it straight in
Shots
the eyes.
fired.
Speaking of that message moment, it was so dramatic. And then I looked at it, I was like, it just wouldn't work. When they did the full, like around the time the message did the full scream holding the hand, I looked at it, I was like, only has a range of 30 feet, just to do minor illusion, which can also be a sound. Just do a scream back. But it literally would have just been I just going, and
I
then
saw
down there
you
going,
with a spell card.
Yeah.
I saw Ben prep a spell card.
Yeah. How far away were they?
100 feet.
yeah.
Oh, fucking hell, I was ready to go.
Yeah, I know you were.
Is that why you then kind of were like, oh no, that wouldn't actually
No,
make it.
you know what? It's I have to be. I'm still used to theatre of the mind. It's still the main way that I think of combat, and so it's very easy to chuck distances around. But actually, you're planning to attack, and go through the tunnels, approach from the side, try and pincer them as they can kind of get as the brothers come out. And obviously, there's a map plan for that. So what I don't want to do is give you information about distances that then proves to be inaccurate in the reality of playing, and then you're in a different space to the one you expected. So that's why I kind of...
What did she cast? That thing, are we allowed to know?
I mean, yeah.
you don't know if it was you didn't try to roll insight or arcana or anything like
You
that.
idiots.
So so you don't know whether that was a signal and that was real sounds. You don't know whether that was a spell. You don't know whether that's people who they've got. You don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Great.
Love that.
Love that for you.
Incredible job on making all the brothers so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible.
That was
I could just picture all of them.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Good.
so clearly.
Good. Well, this all came from your names for them all. So when Holly sent me over all her character stuff before we started session 0, it had the names of the brothers and it had the meaning behind the names of the brothers. So Kylen means little warrior of the forest.
Yeah, like it's a derivative of different sounds from different like Celtic and stuff like
Yes,
that.
there's sort of phonetic approximations of, or things that are evocative of. So we have, Derwin, who was back in Barun, means oak tree, so he's just very big.
Yeah.
Kylen means little warrior of the forest, and he's obviously now become a big warrior of the forest. Torian is derived from Tor, which means hill, so that's why he's kind of got this, I don't know, just sort of in my head, that's like a slightly gentler, he's not called mountain, he's got this kind of slightly gentler energy. Kellen means holly tree, so I was like, well, let's lean into the kind of rangery kind of vibe with him. And then Eden is a sound that can evoke a sense of being of the forest. And I was like, so he was the one in the sense that was hardest to pin down. And actually, until we started, I was going to play him completely differently. And then I thought, actually, it's much less fun. So he was going to have he was going to be more changed than you remembered him. And he was going to be much closer to Riodir, like much more severe. And like all that, as if the knowledge of, so he knew, so as was revealed, Eden knew that Elowyn wanted to go, and Eden helped. And in fact, that's something that's talked about in the previous episodes when you're speaking with Derwin. And I kind of had this idea of like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to see how much that's weighed on him and how much more serious that's made him, and that the moustache is kind of everything about him is he's just trying to be more like his father that he was never particularly close to, and so he's shut himself down and shut his emotions down. But then I was like, actually, we've got enough of that. Yeah. We've got the Sota, who's very much based on like you know, my paternal grandmother.
I mean, the feeding thing.
And the feeding thing.
Such a Welsh nana.
And like loves you so deeply and doesn't, you know, would be kind of quite cross if you ever backed them into a corner where they had to say it out loud. Like, why do you need this from me? Yeah. Isn't it enough that, you know, look what's on the table? Isn't it enough? Yeah. And then we already had like the kind of rager, you know, kind of ragey sort of ready to fight all the time. We had this kind of more gentle giant person. We had happy-go-lucky Derwin, and then we had Kellen, who's just a little bit scatty and a little bit vague. And so it's much better to have someone, I think, who is more kind of charming and who kind of goes, yeah, no, I see you, and I don't want to. The thing with I was really nice, I thought. The idea that he that you rolled a nat 20 on an insight check as well. I think the idea that he's just sort of, he's someone who would be a really good politician, like a really excellent politician who has that kind of ease with people who he's first meeting, but does command respect. So yeah, that was fun. It was quite a fun little challenge to see how, because also I can only do one Welsh accent, so it just had to be a load of different voices. And whether or not I can do the accent is actually a slightly, it was
great. It was great, and your Welsh was really good.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. When I did my 2 words.
Cariad bach.
Cariad bach, which means like little darling, right?
Baby girl.
Baby girl, little love.
Bach is baby, and cariad is girl. So bachen, boy, cariad, girl.
So that's what Torian said to her when he first saw her in the study. And then the letter from your dad, which I thought was really important.
That was amazing. Loved that was followed by the, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Like there was no time to even think about that. It was just like,
I was fully ready in that moment. Watching you read that, was fully ready to then, because obviously I can't read, to go over and pick up. I thought we were going to go to sleep. Pick up a book and go and ask you to read it for me.
Oh, that's
lovely
and then the scream happened, and I was like,
damn it, I just want a story.
No, but it made it because this is the thing, when you're playing, if you have thoughts and you have ideas and you have feelings, in that moment, that's what I wanted to do, right? This is what I was going to say as well, going back to it, when we were talking about when you're sat there and you're happy not to engage in something because you're like, I don't need to in this moment. When you're actually at the point we're at now, even sitting in silence is engaging, because you will be sat there listening to everything and coming at it from the approach of your character and kind of going, okay, well, my character's sat here listening to this in this moment, so what am I thinking about it? How am I thinking and feeling about these things? So when something like that happens, where I have this idea of, I want to go and get the book and I want Delia to read it to me, as a player, as a person immersed in the moment, it makes that moment of them screaming to go hit even harder.
Yeah.
Because I was fully invested in that moment of wanting that.
Because we were going to have, you knew kind of what you wanted to say, like how it would feel, and like you could already envision.
So then I actually really felt it even more suddenly having that moment and that moment in the room taken. Yeah.
Good.
You say the dice always know that nat 20 on top of the tarot.
Yes.
So fucking perfect. Like, and it's, you're always, you have things, that it would be, I'm praying for a good roll for you at that point as well.
Yeah.
Because it would be, if you roll a nat 1, I mean,
Soon
at
as
that point
I
I've
said
given you
roll, I
advantage,
was
so
like,
it's very unlikely that you're going to roll a nat 1. But it's like, oh God, if you suggest it, and what does he do?
Like, what if I give that, like, no, we're holding fast, we're going to hold this because they're going to come and get us anyway. And then you roll like a 2 and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, what does he do? Does he sort of go,
yeah, maybe we should just pack up.
maybe we should just
just
pack
give
up
up.
and go. And so it's just, there's that thing of never let your players roll for something that you're not prepared to make happen if it goes the other way. And then every now and then you just have to like really take a risk.
But it worked.
Yeah,
Like
it did,
like,
but
and it wasn't just high. It was a straight
nat
up
20.
nat 20. And you're like, with advantage, I'm like, no.
Also,
need.
the brilliant thing about it, I love a nat 20 when you're rolling with advantage on the first one.
Yeah.
Just be like, doesn't matter. I would have fucking rolled it anyway. Because in that moment, Adelian knew the right words and it didn't matter. She didn't need a second go at it. She didn't need to.
Yeah.
Italian's nice.
And, combat ahoy.
Yeah.
The feeling of excitement.
Minis.
Well, now that we got him, we're all on the same page. We can make a plan and
I feel like I need to wash my dice tonight.
Sage them.
Douse them.
You rolling today.
Oh my God.
That's not
the
lucky.
beginning of it, I was rolling stinker after
You were rolling really
stinker.
bad on stuff you
But
normally roll well on.
It still worked quite nice. The stuff you were rolling bad on, it still felt like I still had a really good run with it. Like you were really able to adapt to it anyway. So it wasn't like you were failing anything with the rolls.
Yeah. I was just getting out the bad stuff ahead of tomorrow,
Yeah.
Tomorrow when we film.
it's gonna be nat 20.
It's
Mate,
gonna
he'll
be
be
a
in and out of those
god.
rocks. Like he'll be in and out of those trees. Like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited about tomorrow. I'm excited about the prospect of.
You being excited is worrying.
Yeah, but just because this whole section has taken a lot of planning and a lot of thought and I have provisions for if you decided to stay in the web. There is absolutely a version of it, and I think I'd alluded to this with you, Dolly. Once this had happened, like there's a version where Dolly hands the supplies over in the dead of night, and Dolly becomes an NPC, and Aoife rolls a new character. She plays Jeremy Teabury. But
Because there's no coming back from that.
yeah, there's no coming back from that. We said we wanted to try and do the names of episodes because we're always trying to write names for episodes, and like no more a fly or something like that.
Flies no longer.
Flies no longer.
Yeah.
Flies no more
Yeah.
is.
Flies no more.
Yeah, flies
Family
no
and
more.
flies.
Yeah. What?
Or family and flies.
Family and fly. But yeah, it's very. I hoped. We're now approaching. Tomorrow is essentially the end of everything I had planned at the beginning of session 0. And of course, within that, the shape of it changes, and you're going to do different things. And like, you were never going to fight. You weren't going to fight the Gloam in the Woods. I didn't think you were going to go to the festival. I didn't. There's loads of different things that have changed in the moment. But the kind of broadest brushstrokes of what's the flow of the river, and when we've now reached the end of the what I considered to be the Kickstarter chunk, if you like. So it does feel very
Three
exciting.
episodes, 3 extra episodes.
Yes,
On the end of that.
yeah, it is 3 extra episodes, which actually isn't bad. It's not
bad.
bad pacing wise.
And dear viewer, like what you don't know ahead of whatever's happening tomorrow, ahead of all of this, Harry outside said the words, "I want you to know none of this is personal."
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Oh yeah.
So
Great.
that going into whatever happens ahead, I want you to know none of this is personal. That's what we're anticipating tomorrow now.
Amazing.
You know what today felt like to me? It felt to me like the scenes leading up to the Uruk-hai attack on Helm's Deep. It feels to me like, this is a good sword.
Yeah.
And Hanum, son of Hanum, or whatever they're called. And then I shall die as one of them. It feels like...
Did I say that?
Yeah. But it feels like that. It feels like because I think, is that when they have they have the drinking competition after, don't they? Legolas and Gimli in the extended edition. But it feels like that to me. Like you are kind of the elves you're kind of the elves turning up in a sense.
Yeah, that's what
Just
that's
very
the vibe that I
dysfunctional.
get. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Confidence that you exude as you walked in. They're like, well, we're going to be okay. A tiny lizard is here.
Yeah,
So this all goes well, and then we're doing this for like another 2 years. There's a giant battle at the end. We're endgaming this.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the Grenwyd family to come through a portal and support us, like on your left, like because we saved you really early on.
Yeah.
If they survive.
Yeah.
That's true.
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Oh.
We could fireball the hell out of them.
That's something that I was really, as soon as I said it, I really worried because I was like, that might be a really bad choice. But I think as DM, it was the correct choice. When the conversation with Lesota that you had, where she said, I want to talk and I don't want you to interrupt me. It's something that my dad would say to me if he needed to, it's something that my dad says to me if he needs to express something that for him is like a complicated thing to get through. And then I suddenly realized, as I said it, I was like, I've told my player to be quiet so I can talk. But that was something that came really, really late, like in the last few days. This idea that when we first talked about your backstory, there was this idea that Lesota's family are actually comparable in influence and power to the Grenwyds, and that they were a matrilineal line, in the same way it's implied that Isolt's family is a matrilineal line, because just always doing patriarchy is so boring. Like, if we're making up a world, why make up a world in which women are always subservient? Like, that's not really very interesting. So it was like, what's the tension there? And originally, it was that Lesota kind of wanted to lead, but she was somehow, the Grenwyd family were the kind of generations before were so traditional and so entrenched in their idea that no, it had to be their son and it had to be the Grenwyd family. It couldn't be the Airfen family. And that was really cool, and I liked that because it gave Endelian something to kick against. And then in the last few days, I was like, how many times as a child or as a young adult, do you look back, years after and think, God, my perspective on that was wrong. Like, I saw a choice. I didn't see a choice in it. And Lesota doesn't have to want to lead. She doesn't have to want to fight. And what she's done is she's massively overcompensated. She's tried to say to you, you don't have to worry about anything, because I grew up worried about everything because I thought everything was going to be my responsibility, and I wanted to take all those responsibilities off your shoulders so you could be a child. And then her realizing that actually she's tied you into the same kind. She's put you in the same hamster wheel that she was on.
Yeah.
In a different way.
Mollycoddled to a point where there was then this just, where is my experience coming from? Like, I'm so wrapped in cotton wool that I can't get out.
And then there was this lovely thing where you were even saying, before that conversation, you were like, oh, with that kind of those empty eyes. And like, your mum just doesn't give off a load of emotion. And you've read into it, God, she's missing something. She's pining for something. She has been for the last 10 years or the last 8 years. She wasn't before. She just didn't want it. And you misinterpreted because you were a child.
Yeah.
Lack of power and influence. Like, as she said, they were a partnership. They did everything together. Like, they made all those decisions together. And I had a line written for her, which I didn't, because if I have like a really key thing that I want to try and communicate, I write them down. And then, of course, I absolutely did not communicate it.
I love the moment you got your sword as well, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that was really fun.
Also, I love the touch of the velvet,
Yeah,
the purple.
I could really picture
the
that box,
purple,
the clasp.
because
Yeah.
for anyone who doesn't know as well, like the stuff that Holly has sent out, like the deck of many friends and stuff, has all been a box where you open it up and it's purple. Was that? Did you?
No, I forgot about that. It was because I'm thinking about all the House Grenweird stuff, and the Grenweird is green and purple,
And her cape.
and I really liked the idea that actually there were clues all not that you should pick up on. That wasn't the point. It wasn't a trail of breadcrumbs, but you look back on it, you go, hang on, the house colours are an amalgamation of both families. Like they've changed. It's like they've changed the flag. Like they've done all this stuff, and clearly it's a partnership. And both your identities. I love that you have the Airfens and the Grenweirds like on your sword belt at the same time. Like to me, that's a very important.
I say because obviously Harry messaged me because obviously I sort of didn't have a last name.
Yeah.
So
until
Harry
a week
had to
ago.
WhatsApp me and was like, what's her maiden name? And I was like, Aoife, which is a lesser known Welsh goddess of, I guess, actually of battles, but of deciding fate in battles. And there's sort of the thing was, depending on which side of the river you stood, would depend on if the English won or if the Welsh won. And it's the goddess of essentially deciding the fate, but specifically in battle.
Fucking God.
Which is quite
pretty
thematically quite cool.
Yeah. Let's
fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
Fucking good.
I'm looking forward to seeing what names we come up with for you
Yeah.
Oh yes, so you need to come up with your nicknames for Endelian.
Anyway.
in the midst of battle.
In the midst of battle.
Yeah.
Honey pie.
No, we still have to sleep. We still have to have a sleep. Well, we have to plan and then come up with a
we need a
sleep.
little
Yeah.
rest of some
little
sort.
plan, a little rest. I think you'll probably, I mean, your plans could probably do with finessing a
Yes,
little bit.
I
In
think
What are you
the
trying to say?
No, that was
No, now that we've got, now that
really,
we're like, you know.
Yeah.
that was really interesting as well. Who like it was like the idea of I emerging as a bit of a tactician was fun because to be number crunchy about it, he has a high intelligence score, you know, and so he is able to like that he is able to sort of look at things and go, you know, how should this fit together?
Yeah.
Whether it's a high chair or the saving of us all.
Because it's how, you know, I imagine that it's how the kobolds got by.
Yeah.
It's through strategy and through, you know, understanding lay of the land, and we can, you know, use weakness as strength, and
Yes.
you know, things like that. It's stuff like that. It's like luring people in and tricking them, and you know, it's our god.
Yeah.
It's themselves. It's the idea of tricks and cunning and like wiliness, and
Yeah. No, lots to look forward to, I think. Should we rolly this polling?
Yes.
I love these things.
Oh, the coins.
They are so
Yeah, they're
tactile.
really pleasing.
I don't want to put
Really
it down.
pleasing.
No, we have a use for those coins coming up in the next session. And now I get to talk in my now traditional slot about my favourite part of this episode. And I actually think I had the letter written, and I had the idea of Lesotho giving the sword written, and I had the Gloam encounter and the message from the spinner written. My favorite parts were, I mean, to me, there's something so brilliant about the five of you just being in a stable and being like, this is it, like it's morphin time kind of thing, like hands in the middle, and I loved Eden on the tower. I really loved that conversation with that kind of whole thing with I and Dolly, and then particularly Radian, and using him as a way to understand.
Story than I think any other conversation we've had.
Yeah, I totally agree. And when it's all going to be role play, and when I know it's pretty much all going to be role play, it's lovely to be able to have such confidence in the fact that you're all just going to, despite some of you not enjoying role play.
Thanks for that.
I really want to give a shout out to Aoife for this episode. The commitment to every time cutting back to trying to explain another. Like,
Oh my God,
in my
seriously,
mind, I'm
so
going,
good.
how long have you been thinking about
So
those?
good. Yeah. So
Chef's
good.
kiss, absolutely perfect.
Commitment to the bet.
Just
Yeah.
because there was like quite a few emotional moments, I was like,
It lifts.
Yeah.
Lifts everything.
Because otherwise, it's like
Yeah, it gets heavy.
Yeah.
It's like GTA 5 when you're leaving your character and you cut back to them and they're doing
Well, exactly,
something.
yeah.
We left you alone for 2 minutes.
Let's Let's completely fuck with the order and start with Doug Cockle.
Oh, I didn't do so hot this week. I got a 51.
51. It's not a great score, I'm afraid. I'm sorry to say. I don't want to score shame you. Don't want to
Nope,
yuck anyone's
I
yum.
agree.
Doesn't want to, but
Numbers-wise,
will.
but I have to. That's my responsibility. Aoife Wilson.
Don't worry, mine's even worse. 46.
And after she was so brave about the web, Holly,
That's what I get.
Holly Bannier,
96.
96.
Oh, I haven't broken 100 yet.
You deserve to win, and I fear you're not going to. Ben Starr,
No, 86 for me.
86.
Slap bang in between the two, 91.
91.
Nobody broke 100.
No one broke three
Yeah.
figures for the first time ever, and it seems
Wow.
absolutely right.
Yeah, we got it all
Got it
out
all of it.
today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we end on a
Tomorrow
moment
is
of
going to be
unmitigated
phenomenal
triumph
rolling.
for Holly Bennett.
God, yeah, thanks for this. This has been for someone who doesn't like role play, has never done it before. This has been
You would never.
This has
never,
been
never.
terrifying.
I did massively regret it after episode. I think there was episode. It was sometime around episode 7. You were like, "God, you spoke to me and you were like, this is fucking hard. Like, this is really
fucking
fucking
hard."
difficult." And I was like, "Oh, I've wrecked this for my."
it's been good. I think most people have taken to Endelian quite well.
I think
It's
I
been
think
pretty good.
Great character.
wonderful character.
So thanks for this, because I am such a visual.
Oh, I have them all.
Yeah, I have them. So Holly has
that
them
was
all.
super.
It's
So
the
these, I have the
forest,
floor
first
plans
floor,
and
second
everything.
floor, ground floor, cellar.
Yeah,
That's all I've got.
Having
Did
your
you-
family
did you
members listed
design the
was useful
castle?
as well.
Harry did, and then I obviously, because I have
It's
to.
based on Harlech Castle. It's
Yeah.
based very loosely on the layout of Harlech Castle,
Which is.
in Wales.
Oh, okay.
Because I just thought it was
More
fun.
castles per square mile than anywhere else in the world.
There we go.
That's all. Wales has more castles than anywhere
I
else. We
went
love a
to
castle.
Chepstow Castle when I was in year 7
Go
on a school trip, and we had to write a whole thing about Chepstow Castle and about castles and Mott and Bailey castles and stuff. And so
Yeah.
Chepstow Castle would recommend.
Yeah, we've got a lot. Abergavenny, where I'm from, has a castle.
Well, the one day we'll all go.
Do you know
We'll-
Do you know what I once found out?
Did you?
Like not too long ago, my mum casually dropped some family lore on me. I was like, okay, cool.
LORE or LAW.
My mum was casually, so my mum's whole side of the family are Welsh, the Davises, and she casually dropped that. She's like, "Oh yeah, your great grandmother was illegitimate and was the illegitimate child of Lord Bute." I was like, "Sorry, what?" It's like, "Yeah, just the illegitimate child of Lord Bute. Lord Bute. So Bute Park is the park in the middle of Cardiff, and there's Bute Castle." And she just casually dropped it on like a Wednesday over lunch, and I was like, "Why have you never told me this before?"
You're like Danny Dyer on
Yeah.
the tangled web we weave. Right, thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
Is it tomorrow yet?
Is it tomorrow yet? This has been Action Surge. We've been Natural 6, and you've been bloody wonderful. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.